Hello and welcome to the Linux Panic YouTube channel. In this video, we're going to be looking at what is WSJTX, how to use it, how to set it up with a radio, and how to make a contact with it. But first, before we proceed any further into the video, I'd like to thank my channel member Mislav. They get early access to videos such as this one right here, as well as a little badge next to the name on videos and live streams that show they support me, and they also get priority response to comments. So why not join them and get the same benefits? Anyway, let's get into the video. Now, I have recently obtained my amateur radio license, and I have been aware for quite a while there's quite a lot of software that lets you do communications with radios through digital communication modes with Linux. And one of the most popular bits of software is something called WSJTX, made by K1JT Joe Taylor from America. So, how do we install WSJTX? Well, as you can see here, we have our terminal. If we do sudo, search WSJTX. As we can see here, we have WSJTX, data, doc, and Golang GitHub for the development. So, is it really just as easy as typing it in and getting it installed? Well, it is. But you could also install it from the source code repository or from the Debian package, was Debian software suite. But in this case, we're just going to install it via the command line. So, what we want to do is sudo apt install WSJTX. Simple as that. And as we can see here, the following new packages will be installed. WSJTX. So, now that we've installed that, what we want to do is open it up, and here we go. What we have here is WSJTX. You're probably wondering, why is all of this data filled in already? It's because I installed it and didn't remove the logging with the software. So, let's go from the start. So we want to do configurations, we'll go from the beginning. So, when you open up WSJTX for the first time, you will get this setting screen. It will open up. And what you need to do is fill out information so it can help figure out where you are and give you locations of everything. So in my case, my call sign is Mexico 7, India Golf Sierra, and I'm currently located in the Maidenhead grid locator of IO84 Foxtrot Kilo, Foxtrot Quebec even. So this locates me in relation to the rest of the world. Now, for setting up a radio, what you'll need to do is figure out your serial port connection and what your radio is. In my case, the radio that I'm using is a ICOM IC7610 connected to a ultra beam antenna. Now, I'm going to take you through the quick setup process of finding out what your radio is doing, or which serial port your radio is on. So, bear with me because I do actually have it. I just have to go through and then there we go. So, we're going to open up a new terminal window right quick. New window. So, we have here a new terminal window. And in this terminal window, what we're going to type is sudo dmessage space pipe. Depending on what keyboard you have, it may be on the right hand side of your left shift key, and or wherever it is on your keyboard, but for a UK keyboard it's right hand side or left shift key. Now once we type that, we want to do grep tty. Feed it your password because you cannot see the dmessage without it being sudo. Now as we can see here, we have a bunch of information. In my case, what I want is as we can see here, it's showing us one of them as TTY0, But in this case, as we can see here, it's currently identifying over serial port USB 0. And if we can then catch the brain up and find it, so there's that. There we go. Now attached to USB 0. This is now working. So, how do we use this? In this case, we need to go through and set a few things. You need to make sure that the baud rate of your radio and the baud rate of WSJTX are the same. Because if I were to change this to 19 to 100, for example, and click test cat, it won't work. Because it is not the same baud rate between the software and the radio. This is just an agreed upon communication between the two, so they work. As we can see here, there is a communication error, which is not ideal. But if we set it back to 115.2, goes green. And we then need to click the test PTT or push to talk. This will then make sure that this is all running. This is how this radio is set up with WSJTX on both Windows and also Linux. I know it works, so I'm happy with it. We're all good. Now, this is where we need to start going further in. For input for audio settings, luckily, because Linux, after all, everything we need access to set the audio settings is already set and sorted out in the kernel, and it's all sorted out. So as we can see here, this is currently set to ALSA input Brown from Texas Instruments USB audio codec. That is what we want. We have the input and we have the output. This is what is feeding the sound to and from the radio to allow for digital communications. In this case, it is the digital communication modes FT8. This was a byproduct of another digital mode called Whisper, also made by Joe Taylor, K1JT, and et al. So, this is fine. If we want to set macros, we can do. And this is where we have to start paying attention to a few things. Whenever you whenever you log a contact with someone, a window will pop up, usually around about here, going, do you want to confirm this communication? The answer is yes. This just prompts you to log it correctly. Because if you don't have that open, you do have to click log QSO or log communication. But doing this, it does it. Pops it up automatically. There is a log automatically. This is recommended for contesting only, so if you're trying to get as many as fast as you can as humanly possible. Enable PSK reporter spotting. This is just a website where you can go to see where you are being heard in the world. I will show that close to the end of the video. There's also some UDP servers, so you can have data sent to other bits of software to get a representation output or have it go to logging software. But in this case, for right now, we're going to leave this alone for another video. Then we have the frequencies that have been set for use with WSJTX, the WSJTX software, and the digital modes that are accepted and used with it. So, for example, we have Whisper, FST4, FST4W, JT9, Whisper again, frequency calling, Whisper, JT. So everything, FT4, FT8, everything that uses these digital modes will have a certain section in a particular band frequency, in a particular frequency band even, where communication is done. So this has it here. You can add to it if you want to. You can take away from it if you want to. Some of them are clearly out of band. Some of them are really, really high frequencies. That is 24 gigahertz, because that is 1.25 centimeter wavelength. Good luck getting that one. As we can see here, there is there's a color. There's colors here, so we can actually see what is new. So in this case, we'll just click them all, well, most of all of them, so we can actually have a look. What we want to do is do rescan ADIF log. That reminds me, I will need to sort out the logging, which we will go through next. And then we also have the advanced, if we want to touch this, VHF, UHF, or microwave decoding parameters if we're using something like 1.23 centimeters. So really, really high frequency. So you're in the microwave frequency, so beyond UHF in the microwave frequency range. So now we need to check where our logs are. To do that, we go to Open, and if we open a file, this will be our samples file if we wanted to get samples, or if we open up the log directory, as we can see here, WSJTX log is my log file. That one there is not my log file, this is my log file. So what we want to do is we wish to okay, as I was saying, my log file is there, and if we open up log directory, this is what it outputs to. So we now need to make our first communication. As we can see here, HK4 DVC was my last communication. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the top of the screen here. As we can see here, this is where people are transmitting. Everywhere where there is bright red is someone transmitting communications. And with WSJTX, it works in 15-second cycles. I realized I didn't. Oops. Okay. There we go. FT4 works in 15-second cycles. So it's a 15 seconds to send, 15 seconds to decrypt, and a full communication of this is my call sign, this is the frequency, or this is the volume I received you at, this is the volume, well, this is the volume I'm sent, this is the volume I received, thank you for the communication. It should take about 2 minutes, providing you have good reception back and forth. So, as we can see here on the left hand side, we can see there are calls coming in from, well, people shouting out at various locations. I want to get Oscar Tango 100U. This is a 100th anniversary station of the International Amateur Radio Union. This is to celebrate 100 years of the IARU, which there happens to be the 100th anniversary this year. So what we're doing is we are attempting to make communication with the Belgian station. As we can see here, this is the calls, this is their call sign, my call sign, and my grid locator. So, providing we have a good reception back and forth, and this of course depends on atmospheric conditions as well as solar activity and day time. And as we can see here, we're getting a response back from the Belgian station. They are hearing me at +12, which means I am that far above the noise floor. The noise floor being 0, the higher the better, the louder you are. That's what I'm hearing them at. And of course, if I quickly just unmuted the speaker so you could hear. And as we can see here, this is the LogQSO screen. What we want to do is click OK. And they have said, thank you very much for your communication. And then they've immediately hopped on to someone else. So I reckon they have queuing set up, which is good. Like, I've got my communication, I've got mine confirmed, I'm happy. Now, how do we check that's gone through? Well, one of the ways we could do it is we could open up the log directory and open up the ADI file. This is the accepted for radio communication for logging software. Now, ignore the fact that this says that this is an audio file. It is not. It is a text file only. So you need to open it up with a text editor. In this case, I've got it set up so .ADI files open up with gedit in this case. So if we open this up and then scroll right down to the bottom, as we can see here, we had a call with Oscar Tango 100 uniform. They heard, received them at +12. They heard me at +1. So on the 40 meter band, that being the frequency, and that's the top. Well, that was the time they stopped communicating. So this is good. Of course, my grid square back and forth. End of record. We can enter that into QRZ later. Now, for moving about the band, this is a 2 kilohertz block of the band, as we can see here. 7.074 megahertz gives us a 2 kilohertz. There's 2 kilohertz, yeah, 2 kilohertz. Sorry, just had to remember that. But that gives us the area that we can communicate across. So if we were to click here, we are the green bar here. This is where we are sat. So if I were to move that to there, I would be transmitting into a open area, or where no one else is transmitting. What we need to do is we need to press the right button. As we can see down here, we click up. This is where we are both transmitting and receiving from. The red bar is where we're receiving, green is where we are transmitting. That is where we are on the frequency. So for example, whilst what we can see is a 3 kilohertz frequency, I need to correct myself there, it is 3 kilohertz. But what we can see on our screen is 3 kilohertz. Here, where the green would be 7.0744307. That's where it would be. So we're going to make one call and then go from there. So in this case, we want to click TX6. So this is the message we want to send. We're going to wait for this bar. We're going to click Enable TX. We have to wait for the cycle. As we can see there, there's Ukrainian. There's also an English station, Golf 1, Golf Foxtrot Whiskey. And then we will wait for the cycle to come around. We are now transmitting. As you can tell, we are transmitting because suddenly nothing is moving. When you are transmitting, you cannot hear anything. This is just, it's simplex communication. It goes one way, you can only talk one at a time. So, like a handheld, or you sat in a car listening to a radio station. You can only listen, and you can only listen at once, talk at once. As we can see here, I'm being chased. So, to do that, we double click, and then it catches up. So in this case, I'm talking to Sierra Papa 2 Echo Whiskey Kilo in the grid locator J093. And there's also an American. I believe that's an American. Nope, that's not an American, but KP01. Oscar Hotel 1 Lima Alpha. Yep. As we can see here, SP2EQW, EWQ has heard me at just below the noise, or on the noise floor, which is good. They can hear me. We're getting good communication back and forth. Now we wait for them to get back with the confirmed. We just leave this until we get the confirmed QSO. And then we will hop onto OH1LA because there we go. That's what we wanted. And we will now double click onto OH1LA as a thank you very much, you've caught me. It's only the nice thing to do to get back to someone else who's tried to get to me. So, as we can see here, this is where we are on the scope. On the scope, as it were. That's where we are. That is how well that's how well we can see other people. The brighter it is, the better the quality of the communication. So as we can see here, they might not have heard me, because I got jumped into by SP2EWQ and OH1LA at the exact same time. So it's just etiquette to call them a few times just to see if you get anything back from them. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. It's always good etiquette to call a few times till you get something. Now, As we can see here, we are about to transmit again. We will wait for the cycle to finish. As we can see here, there is a countdown across the screen. So that is in the 15 seconds across the screen. And as we can see here, we are still calling them, saying we heard them at plus 0.5, so we can hear them above the noise floor. And the noise floor being 0. You can hear below the noise floor, and all the way down to minus 19. I've seen it now a few times. And as we can see here, we're not getting a response back from OH1LA. So what we will do, we will go for another 2 cycles and then call it there with attempting to communicate. Whilst yes, it is nice to get a new call sign and speak to someone, it doesn't happen all the time, and that's alright. So we'll see if they get back to me. In this case, we are once again transmitting. And you can tell by the fact that everything stops, and if you look at the bottom left hand side of the screen, we have TX for transmit. And it appears that unfortunately we are not getting anything back from OH1LA. So what we will do is we will just click Halt TX, so it stops transmitting. See, unfortunately we haven't heard anything back, so that's where we're going to be leaving it for today. Anyway, I'd like to thank you very much for watching. If you like this, if you like the video, hit the like button. If you dislike it, hit the dislike button. They both seem to work, even though you can only see one of them. I'll be making a few videos around amateur radio and its software for a while before I go abroad and be using my call sign in Australia. Anyway, I want to thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day.